Tempo Afrique Travel. Vous voulez voyager? Achetez vos billets d'avion à l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, pas de problème de connexion, pas de problème de transfert de vol. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, c'est le voyage en toute tranquillité, en toute beauté, de votre maison jusqu'à votre destination. Votre satisfaction est notre plaisir.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Tempo Afrique TV, the #1 Pan-African information outlet by Africans, for Africans, and for people of African descent around the globe. Welcome to our weekly show, What's Up Africa, Café l'Afrique. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Stanley Best from Raleigh, North Carolina, USA, a researcher, historian, and genealogist, the graduate of Shaw University. Yes, Shaw University. Today's topic is Global Africans, our history, ancestry, and DNA. Welcome to the show, Mr. Samvance.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Belubi. It's good to see you again. It's a wonderful reunion.
Thank you. Is there anything you want to add briefly to my clumsy, maybe, introduction of you?
I thought your introduction was fine. You did wonderful, as always.
Very good. Very good. Let's go to the first question then. But let me warn all of us, the viewers, all our friends, that they may just join. You see the number on the screen, +1 612 224 2020, or +1 612 447 9636. You may just dial that number and you are on the air, ready to make a contribution or ask this expert, Mr. Stanley Best, any questions you may have. So let's go after it. The first question to you, Mr. Best, is based on a degree in liberal studies or multidisciplinary program with special emphasis on history. Passion actually help with your skills, help you transition to the ancestry and DNA field. How come? Can you explain this to our viewers?
Well, first of all, the multidisciplinary studies program allowed me to hone my skills because, as you remember, there's a good bit of history involved, particularly the piece we did on the amalgamation of Lagos, which led to the creation of the modern state of Nigeria. And while I did have passion initially, I had a tremendous amount of interest. I don't think without the multidisciplinary studies program, I would have been as effective as I've been able to become. Because what happened, it was sort of a natural progression to go from that program into the research that I did, or I do, which you just look for the sources and you take it from there.
Wonderful. Well, you've done a project. It's really beautiful, and the producer will play some bites, and we'll hear you talk about that wonderful project. So, all right.
One of Sampson County's most illustrious sons. I put together a very brief biography and please accept my humble submission. On September 7th, 1859, one of North Carolina's most illustrious sons, John Merrick, is thought to have been born to an enslaved teenage mother in southern Sampson County in the Taylor's Bridge Township section. John Merrick never wrote a formal biography. Consequently, much of his early life is shrouded in mystery. We only have the memories of family and acquaintances to rely on. Armacantz Andrews, a previous biographer, had written that John and his mother, Margaret, moved to Chapel Hill before he was 12 years old. However, the 1870 census reveals Good evening. I'm Stan Best, and I'm very honored to be with you this evening as we celebrate the life of John Merrick, one of Sampson County's most illustrious sons. I put together a very brief biography, and please accept my humble submission. On September 7th, 1859, one of North Carolina's most illustrious sons, John Merrick, is thought to have been born to an enslaved teenage mother in southern Sampson County in the Taylor's Bridge Township section. John Merrick never wrote a formal biography. Consequently, much of his early life is shrouded in mystery. We only have the memories of family and acquaintances to rely on. Armacantz Andrews, a previous biographer, had written that John and his mother, Margaret, moved to Chapel Hill before he was 12 years old. However, the 1870 census reveals that he and his family were in Raleigh as recent as 1869, living with John's uncle by marriage, Henry Jones, a local brick mason. At about the time construction began on Esty Hall on the campus of Shaw University, it is presumed that young John found employment opportunities there, helping to lay bricks. In 1875, John Merrick began work at W.G. Otey's barbershop, located in the basement of the palatial and elegant Yarborough House Hotel. John started as a bootblack and worked his way up to barber. John Wright was the supervisor at Otey's and grew quite fond of young Merrick, for he was honest and upright. John Merrick married Martha Hunter on December 10th, 1879 in Raleigh.
Well,
They would have 5 children: Geneva, Mabel Violet, Edward Richard, John Thena, and Martha.
thank you.
In
Thank
the
you,
early 1880s,
producer, thank you. We can stop it at that point, and we will continue asking him questions for him to tell us more about his skills, what he does, what he's done. It will be beautiful. So if you are from HBCU, historically Black colleges and universities across the globe, not just in America, across the globe, please tap into this. Join us, listen to Samvance, ask him questions, or if you can't follow us live, you can follow later on, because we will share the video, the products of this session all over the place. Okay, so administrators of Shaw University, administrators of Norfolk State University, all those HBCU students, alumni, please tune in. So, Mr. Best,
yeah,
what's the relevance or importance of ancestry and DNA for anyone and for people of African descent more specifically?
I think it is very important for all people to be aware of their background in terms of their family lineage. It helps esteem, and it creates and fosters an environment, a more peaceful environment in many instances. And I found that when people find that they are related to you, they treat you nicer than they had done before. One of the other advantages of family history is it gives you a heads up on health issues that come down the line, and so forth and so on. So those are a couple of examples of how family history is good, particularly with descendants of the diaspora, because many of us have lost touch, particularly with our African connection, culturally and so forth. And it is a wonderful, a great thing to be able to make those connections. And that's it for that. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So if you are of African descent, as a Black person, no matter where you are, I hope you've heard him loud and clear. He said it's very important for many reasons that he has actually enumerated. One of them is health issues. Okay, so that's critical. It's existential, isn't it? So health issues, you know, so maybe people of Black descent may be more prone to getting, you know, catching some diseases or inherit some diseases. And when you know your ancestry, you know something about your DNA, something can be done about it. Okay. Thank you, Samvance. But you also did your own genealogy tree and DNA. Tell us what it takes in terms of steps to get there. And if we can, we'll show it on the screen what you've done. The producer will look for it as Samvance Samvance DNA. It's amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, are you asking what methods what first steps do you take in terms of finding out your origin? Well, first of all, like any other research, you look for primary sources, which will be, for the most part, government documents, i.e. birth records, i.e. marriage records, death records, and family lore, family narratives, and even photographs. And last but not least, search cemetery records. And that will be your first start, and you compile it from one generation to the next.
That's what you do.
That's what we do.
But what about the DNA?
Oh, the DNA. Now,
yes.
The DNA is the tricky part. Now, the DNA connects you with relatives that you don't even know you're related to, because of the dispersion of our people throughout this country, and the nature and the oppressive nature of chattel slavery. We were separated, and our family cohesion was destroyed for the most part. So what the DNA allows you to do is connect with these family members that were separated years ago, and you're able to connect with them through the DNA. And that is one of the exciting things about that. Being able to, you've known a person in your town your entire life, y'all gotten along fairly well, and then the DNA turns out that you're related, and that's exciting. But also you end up being related to people you never thought you would be related to, descendants of the slave owners themselves, which is one of the surprises that you find.
Good. We'll ask the producer to bring that DNA of yours back on the screen, and we'll ask you some questions about it. Now, how do you feel about it? Those percentages, meaning that you know, part of you is Nigeria, is Mali, is Togo, is Benin. I mean, how come? Tell us something and tell us what you feel about it.
I'm quite excited. But because of the project we worked on, the amalgamation of Lagos, I have some questions. Because when it says 30% Nigerian, I don't know whether it's Yoruba, I don't know whether it's Igbo, or Igbo, I don't know if it's Hausa. That's one of the questions that I have. Because I know there are hundreds of ethnic groups there. And the Yoruba and the Igbo are some of the largest groups. And so that was one of the questions, but I'm just ecstatic to be able to make that connection.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that makes you feel, it's not just the color of your skin, but the DNA is confirming that you are African, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's a whole lot better than it was when I was, growing up in the 50s and 60s and 70s in segregated North Carolina, where my esteem was not what it should be, because I didn't know really where I belonged. But to see those numbers, it's exciting.
Wonderful, wonderful. So ladies and gentlemen, viewers, followers, you can join in and ask questions, okay? And get help from Samvance. And if you're a citizen of the state of the African diaspora, or just African in the diaspora, Brazil, Cuba, you name it, or you can contact Samvance and he will give you some explanations, okay? Get in touch with us and then we will hook you up, I believe. So, ladies and gentlemen, so we're moving along very smoothly. And our next question to you, Samvance, it's actually a request. Would you please just give us a few details, a summary, or a few details of just one of the projects, just a summary, in addition to what we heard you say.
Now, one of the most interesting projects that I did was my wife's family. She was from Virginia, and she descended from African Americans who actually owned slaves. And one of them received his freedom by fighting in the Revolutionary War. And I thought that was outstanding. I did not realize at the time, but what that did was allow me to dig a little deeper. A part of her family was free because she descended from a white indigent female servant. And the way the rules were, a mulatto child whose mother was white would be free. And so one of those descendants married her sixth great-grandfather, who was manumitted for his service in the Virginia militia during the Revolutionary War. And they received a land grant of 321 acres, which they still have today. And so the fascinating thing about that, I was able to trace her family across the breadth of most of this nation's history, from its inception, from the colonial period on to independence, on to the Civil War, and to the end of it.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. I know my next question, I've kind of asked it already, but let me go back to it. That's this work that you do, history, ancestry, DNA. Does that help you better understand that Africa is the cradle of humanity? Are we all Africans indeed, as archaeological studies prove it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And not only that, but without the Africans, there would be no America as we know it. There would be no France as we know it. There may not even be any country as we know it. Because most of the wealth were generated in this nation from the backs and the skill, the agricultural skill, the skill of growing rice in South Carolina, which was the very first $1 million crop. And all the topography, as it turns out, was very similar to that of Sierra Leone. It was low, swampy, ideal for rice growing. So all they did was put the slaves on the islands, and they just did the work. And that was the first $1 million crop, the Carolina brown rice from South Carolina.
That's beautiful. If I may extrapolate a little bit, tell me a little bit about the gulas in your part of the world. Have you heard of the gula?
Yeah, well, they say gullah. Many of them were. I've heard some people say gullah. We're talking about people from Angola. And but I do know that the mass majority, from my research, have been from Sierra Leone.
Right.
And while Sierra Leone does not show up on my ancestry DNA, I show up 14% on the heritage DNA. Right, because some of our traditions, some of the things I remember my great-grandparents doing and things that they believed, there was a tremendous amount of people from Sierra Leone, because the people of South Carolina, they wanted rice growers. They didn't want the people who did not know how to grow rice. And there was a situation where some Ibu came and they all committed mass suicide instead of being enslaved. So they didn't want to deal with that anymore. So for the most part, they sought after people from the Senegambia regions, Sierra Leone primarily, and Guinea. But I think they used to call the area around what would become Nigeria Guinea at a certain point. I'm not too clear on that. But yeah, it's a fascinating history.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My next question is about the tools, because we are in the era of information and technology, okay? So the technology, information and communication technology tools, what tools do you use? And your research methodology, can you tell us, and how effective are those things? Can you tell us something about it?
Yes, you have a number of databases that you can subscribe to. And I only live probably about 5 minutes from the state archives. And I spent quite a bit of time examining original documents there. They have a wealth of information that goes back to the colonial period. And that is the fact that you can have access to these databases helps you tremendously. It's not as tedious as it was 30 years ago. So we've come a long way, and I'm certain we have much more to go.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes, the final questions is about the future of ancestry and DNA research, so that you can give us your concluding statement. But before that, let me tease you a little bit. When we first met in those classes, which I taught predominantly, how do you feel being on the show with your former professor in chair of the Department of Humanities. Is it ironic or what is it?
It is ironic, and it's a wonderful thing because we had good times. We had good times, and yes, it's ironic, and I'm very, very happy, very pleased to see you again. I hadn't seen you in a few years.
Okay. Maybe can you just tell us one of those things that I did that got on your nerves, Mr. Stanley?
You never ever got on
No.
my nerves. I mean, you were laid back, very calm. Never.
Okay, I feel flattered. I feel flattered. Okay, the final question is, what's the future of ancestry and DNA research? And then that will conclude the show, Mr. Samvance.
I think the future, in the very near future, we will have the ability to track an individual's entire DNA segment across the entire genome, his entire history.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And I think that will help people who have biases and prejudices to understand that we are truly one and the same.
Yeah. And we've come a long way. You see, some people were actually pronounced guilty and put to death. Some have spent over 30 or 40 years, a lifetime in jail to find out, thanks to the DNA technology, that they were not related to the crime they assumed they committed in the first place. And being in America and being Black, yes, Black lives matter. And it
Yes.
continues. So sadly, not quite long ago, was just a week or a couple of weeks ago, a fellow African got shot in the brain by the police officer, pinning him down and shooting him, in the brain and kill him. And that's horrific. So yes, we're all Africans. They must remember that we're all Africans. And
Yes,
DNA research, ecological research, anthropological studies have proven that, and we can't prove that wrong. Let's be humane. Let's remember that we are of the same family, the human family. So, fellow Africans, friends, subscribers, and viewers of all walks of life on this blessed and sanctified planet Earth, thank you for being a part of today's enriching show on global Africans, our history, ancestry, and DNA. As you can tell, the good news is that Temple Africa TV is making strides to excellence. In fact, we look forward to moving on to satellite, but we can't do it without you. So please sign up and ask friends of friends of friends to help spread the news rapidly across our modern world, which is without borders. We're certain you won't put off supporting us financially. See details on the screen and on our website on how to do so, how to donate, how to contribute, how to make people's lives better because they've received the right information at the right time. You may also want to sign an MOU with us for a win-win partnership. You will never regret. This is What's Up Africa show. You love it, and it will keep growing with your support. What's Up Africa welcomes donation to recognize and reward the African youth and African Americans, the Black folks, people of African descent, for excellence and in development initiatives, inventions, civic engagement, and remarkable peace-building endeavors. We strongly believe Africa's renaissance is now, ladies and gentlemen. But the most glamorous days are yet to come. Yes, the African sun will rise again. Mr. Samvance, Our
Yes.
heartfelt appreciation goes to you for coming to our show.
My pleasure.
And finally, let's give a big shout out to our producer, Malik Sa. You know, you don't see his face, but he's the one that is producing the magic to make things happen. So let's give him a big hand for his hard and smart work, his humility, his genius, and unfailing leadership. I've known him only for about a year, but it's like we've been together for 30, 40 years. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this show, this marvelous show, and may God bless you all.
Du nouveau à Minneapolis, Tempo Afrique Travel. Vous voulez voyager? Achetez vos billets d'avion à l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, pas de problème de connexion, pas de problème de transfert de vol. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, c'est le voyage en toute tranquillité, en toute beauté, de votre maison jusqu'à votre destination. Votre satisfaction est notre plaisir.